Captain Zarath of the Galactic Wildlife Conservation Corps had seen many strange things in her 30 cycles of service, but nothing quite like this. Her scaled hands trembled as she reviewed the surveillance footage for the 5th time, her reptilian eyes struggling to process what the sensors had recorded on the supposedly uninhabited world of Kepler 442b. The planet was a sanctuary world, one of the last refugees for the endangered Nexari leopards, massive feline predators with crystalline fur that could phase through solid matter. Only 12 breeding pairs remained in the entire galaxy, making each individual precious beyond measure. The Galactic Council had declared the world off-limits to all sentient species, protected by automated defense satellites and patrolled by Conservation Corps vessels. So how had a human gotten there? More importantly, how was he still alive? The footage showed the impossible scene. A human male, no older than 30 standard years, lying unconscious against the trunk of a towering silverleaf tree. Curled against his chest and back were 3 Nexari cubs, their translucent fur shimmering in the moonlight as they slept peacefully beside the alien intruder. "Run a full species scan on the human," Zarath ordered her subordinate, Lieutenant Vexkar. "I want to know everything. His origin world, his genetic markers, even what he had for breakfast." While they waited for the results, Zarath couldn't stop watching the recording. The cub's mother paced nearby, her 8-foot frame rippling with barely contained power. Adult Nexari were apex predators, capable of phasing through any material and striking with claws that could slice through. Starship hull plating. They were also fiercely protective of their young. Yet this one seemed calm, almost serene. "Captain," Vexkar's voice cut through her thoughts, "the scan results are unusual. Define unusual. The human shows signs of recent atmospheric entry without any protective gear. Burns on his clothing, elevated radiation levels consistent with passage through our defense grid. But that's not the strange part." Zarath turned to face her lieutenant. "Continue." His biometrics show elevated levels of oxytocin, serotonin, and several other compounds associated with caregiving behavior. But more than that, the cubs are exhibiting the same markers. They're not just tolerating his presence, Captain. They're bonding with him. The implications hit Zarath like a meteor strike. Nexari cubs only bonded with their biological parents. And even then, only after weeks of careful socialization. The pheromone markers they were reading suggested a connection that should have been impossible. "There's something else," Vexkar added quietly. "Long-range scans show the cub's mother isn't producing milk. She's been unable to feed them for at least 2 solar cycles." The pieces began falling into place. 3 orphaned cubs slowly starving. A human who had somehow crashed through their most sophisticated defenses. And now, "Captain," came another voice from the communications station. "We're receiving a transmission from the surface. It's from the human." "Put it through." The view screen flickered to life, showing the human's face. He was awake, now sitting up carefully to avoid disturbing the sleeping cubs. His dark eyes held an exhaustion that went bone deep, but also something else. A fierce protectiveness that Zarath recognized from her own species' parental instincts. "My name is Marcus Chen," he said quietly, his voice barely above a whisper. "I know you're watching. I know I'm not supposed to be here." Zarath found herself leaning forward. "How did you penetrate our defenses?" Marcus looked down at the cubs, one of which had begun to purr in its sleep. "I didn't. My ship was damaged in a solar storm 3 systems over. Life support failed. I programmed the emergency beacon to search for the nearest habitable world and launched myself in an escape pod. That doesn't explain how you survived. Atmospheric entry or why the Cubs? They found me half dead in the crater. Marcus interrupted softly. Their mother was already gone. Probably died trying to protect them from something. They were so small, so hungry. His voice broke slightly. I couldn't just leave them. Zara felt something stir in her chest, an unfamiliar warmth. The Nexari are apex predators. They should have killed you on sight. Marcus smiled, an expression that somehow conveyed both sadness and wonder. Maybe. But they're also babies, who missed their mother. And I know what that feels like. The largest cub stirred, opening eyes that gleamed like captured starlight. It looked up at Marcus and made a soft, chirping sound that Zarath had only heard Nexari make to their own parents. You've been feeding them, she realized. Emergency. Rations weren't enough. But there's a grove of fruit trees about a kilometer north. The cubs can digest the seeds, and I can process the fruit. We've been sharing. For how long? 6 days. Maybe 7. Time kind of blurs when you're trying to keep 3 alien babies alive. Zarath exchanged glances with her crew. The human had done what trained xenobiologists said was impossible. He had formed an interspecies familial bond with one of the galaxy's most dangerous predators. More than that, he had potentially saved the last Nexari bloodline from extinction. Mr. Chen, she said finally, by law, I should arrest you for violating a protected world. Marcus nodded, carefully stroking the crystalline fur of one cub. I know. But could you make sure they're taken care of? They trust people now. Maybe that will help them survive. Actually, Zarath found herself saying, I have a better idea. The Conservation Corps has been struggling to find a way to socialize the Nexari cubs. Previous attempts with our own species have failed. But you've proven that humans have a unique compatibility with them. She paused, hardly believing the words coming out of her mouth. How would you feel about a job, Mr. Chen? The pay is excellent, and it comes with some very unusual benefits. On screen, Marcus looked down at the 3 cubs who had somehow chosen him as their guardian. The largest one had awakened and was now nuzzling his hand with a face that could have torn through battle armor. Will they let me stay with them? I think, Zarath said, watching the impossible scene play out before her. That question should be directed to them. As if in response, all 3 cubs chirped in unison, a sound that needed no translation across species barriers. Sometimes, she realized, the galaxy's most important discoveries came not from scientific advancement or military conquest, but from the simple act of caring for something small and helpless. The humans, it seemed, had mastered that art better than anyone.